That's what you call a QuickBooks groupie. Thank you. Welcome very much. So you guys get the benefit that we did yesterday's class. They cut it for 5 minutes because of the people coming in from the main stage. And also I gave like a 5-minute introduction of like what happened in my life the past year. So you get the benefit of not having to endure that. So we get straight to the presentation. So deep dive into QuickBooks Online reports. Say hi to the person next to you. Good. Preferably the one that you don't already know. Okay. Yes. Hi. Yeah. So I've been coming to QuickBooks Connect since the very first year. 2014 was the very first QuickBooks Connect in San Jose, and I've only missed one, which is the birth of my youngest. And I guess I had an excuse, but I was like, babe, can we negotiate? You know, can I go teach one class and then I'll come back? I swear to God, I'll clean all his diapers. No, I couldn't. So I missed one, and I've been to multiple conferences. I've been to Scaling New Heights. I've been to Digital CPA. I've been to SleaterCon. Who's here from the SleaterCon days? Yes, a few. Okay. And I can tell you the common theme about these conferences. Most of the time, we come for inspiration, right? We try to find inspiration. Sometimes we go for skills. This will be a class that you will go specific for skills. But at the end, I think the biggest return on investment is like the contacts, friendships. And because the reality is that what you learn today in 6 months could be close to obsolete, especially in today's AI-powered world. So really, I think the circle of trust of the colleagues are saying, hey, have you been running into this issue? Like, how are you approaching this? It's actually more valuable than trying to keep up, with all the tech stuff. So hopefully, this is the last day, of course, but hopefully you walk out with a couple of friendships, circle of trust, people you can mastermind with, because that's truly the value behind these conferences. And you get to see me, but those two things valuable. Okay? So make sure that at the end of the session, you open the survey, and they'll give you an option to put up a couple stars. The right answer is 5 stars. Okay? And make sure you checked in to get your CPE. So this is the big ambitious agenda that I have. Like when I put this presentation together, and I already tried to do this yesterday, and it didn't work. So we skipped something. So ideally, we'll get through all of this. But if you guys start asking questions, and the questions are good, and the way you know a question is good is if I have the answer, it's a good question. If I don't have the answer, it's a bad question. Okay? So if you ask good questions that are worth contextually to showcase, I could go a little bit off topic and do that, but I also somehow want to get back to this, okay? So if we're going really good with the questions, I can go, let's see if we have time at the end. Regardless, I actually pre-recorded this session, regardless, even before we came here. It went live in YouTube yesterday, so if I miss something that I wanted to cover, it's going to be there, and you can hit pause, and you can speed up or slow down the voice, whatever you want. Plus, I'm actually recording this live as well, and I recorded yesterday, so it's fail-safe. We'll be able to cover all this stuff in one way, shape, or form. So we'll try to make the most out of the interactivity of this session as well. So my name is Hector Garcia. I'm the co-founder of Right Tool for QBO. Woo! Hold on. Let's do it right, okay? If you feel like saying woo, because there's context, okay? Don't say woo. I don't want no empty woos, okay? I want to hear the real woos, and I'm going to count how many woos it is, because I'm a savant like that. So I'm Hector Garcia. I'm the co-founder of Right Tool. Yeah, I think there's some empty woos there, but okay, that's fine. I'll take them. I'm an accountant, QuickBooks Pro advisor. I'm a YouTuber, father of four. I'm a software designer, Little League baseball coach, and very bad golfer. I seem to have a one-way relationship with golf. Like I love it a lot, but it doesn't love me back. There's my email. Seriously, anything I didn't cover, it was confusing. Hector, I can't get the slides, whatever it is. Don't ask me for CPA. I don't do CPA management, but just email me, and when I get back home, I'll figure out. I'll probably have a video answer for you, but just give me a ring. I love to help colleagues figure things out. So let's talk about the reports that are available across all versions of QuickBooks Online. So yesterday, it was announced that we have a new product called QuickBooks Ledger. I'm calling it QuickBooks Online Ledger because I don't want to confuse things, but it's QuickBooks Ledger. And the product's not live. It'll go live tomorrow. Pretty convenient, right? Hey, this is an exciting product. By the way, it will release after you can't give us live feedback and yell at us. But according to the documentation I've been reading and all this information I've been piecing, there will be about 40 built-in reports. I want to make the assumption, and this assumption is probably right, that it will be everything that Simple Start has, except the reports that are attached to a transaction type that's not available in Ledger. So bills are not in Ledger, invoices are not in Ledger, estimates are not in Ledger, sales receipts will not be in Ledger. Does that make sense? So like any report that will be driven by that transaction type is not going to be available. So it's going to be all your P&L, balance sheet, P&L, hopefully comparative. I asked some of the product managers and they don't know, which is interesting. So hopefully we'll have the comparatives, we'll have general ledger, we'll have trial balance. So it's basically going to be just cash basis write-up tool, okay? Actually, I wonder whether there'll be a cash basis and accrual tab. I'm going to make the assumption that there's not going to be a tab because there's no context to accrual. Because unless you could do journal entries and you could put journal entries to AR, and that's going to get really hairy. So we don't know, but we are excited. I'm excited about that product, mostly because that means more potential customers for my app, so I love it. Then we got QuickBooks Online Simple Start, which has got 78 built-in reports. It's actually 78. QuickBooks Online Essentials has 100. Online Plus has 122, and Online Advanced has 130, plus Performance Center, plus Custom Report Builder. This is the second half of the class that we want to cover. Okay, the full list of reports, and like I'm the only maniac in the world that does these sort of things. So I built this spreadsheet and I've been maintaining it for 7 years. And it's a public-facing spreadsheet. The link is on the slide. And basically every report, let me zoom in a little bit here. Every report that QuickBooks has is listed here. There's a hyperlink, so you can go straight to it. So you don't, like if you want to build like your own bookmarks list, you can go straight to it and launch it. There's also, if there's an enhanced experience version of it versus a regular version of it, and essentially enhanced experience is a new thing that you always click on back to classic mode. Okay, so we'll have a discussion about that. Okay, because my goal, like Intuit said, you teach the class, but your goal is to get people to stop clicking back to classic view. And I said, yeah, right, yeah, sure, yeah. Well, I'll try. No, but seriously, the classic view reports will be deprecated. That's the plan. The plan is to get rid of the old reports, replace it with the new reports, but that's not going to happen until people stop clicking on back to classic. No, I'm serious. Like that's how they'll measure it. Like if people keep pushing back to classic, they have to keep it for longer and longer and longer until maybe like 1% of people click. I'm sorry, the 1%ers are going to get screwed. But the idea is to move to the new platform. The new platform is better, it's more powerful. I'll walk you through it. I'll help you fall in love with it, but it'll be more like a mistress. Like you'll still be married to the classic view, but I'll help you fall in love with it. You can do it. It could be a side gig, okay? And every report has a column here: Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, and Advanced. And I promise you, the minute I have access to QuickBooks Ledger, I will add the column for QuickBooks Ledger, and you will know exactly which reports are available and not. This is really important. I built this for my own practice because I sell so much QuickBooks. I don't know if you know, but I'm the #1 QuickBooks salesperson in the world. So sometimes we trying to recommend a version. People go, does this version have this report? And it's even for me, it's difficult to keep track of all these things. So I have these spreadsheets to help myself to go back and reference something. Or sometimes I get tons of emails from YouTube of people asking random questions. I mean, like real random questions. And every time there's like a report question, I'm like, hey, here's some of the spreadsheets I have. If that doesn't answer your question, or maybe you can narrow it down to a better question, then okay, I'll put my brain power into this. So like a lot of these resources are built to help my team and myself answer emails faster. Okay, but this is available for you. It's public. We have I don't know what this is, an Ifrit and a capybara. Looking at it right now. So that's on the slides. Okay. Now this word salad here is just basically all the reports that are available in Simple Start. I basically dared myself to put as many bullet points as possible in a slide, and I think I hold the record for most pieces of bullet points in a slide in QuickBooks Connect. Okay, so let's see what happens next year. Somebody can beat that. Okay, then we have the reports that are essentials, plus, and advanced. Then plus and advanced only. And by the way, big misconception: advanced does not have more canned reports than plus. Most people think it has more reports. It does not have more canned reports. It has a different report builder, and the report builder itself has more tools, and we'll get to that. But in terms of the classic reports, the two SKUs have the exact same thing. Okay? And then we have what's in advanced only. So these are the templates that are available through the custom report builder. And they just recently released P&L. There's no balance sheet. So obviously, until we get all of our financial reports in the new system, we can't deprecate back to, we can't get rid of Classic View yet. So, but that is the plan. The plan is to go into this new platform, and all sorts of benchmarking for exporting to Excel, for potentially splitting. One thing that drives me crazy is I can't separate the account number from the name of the account. Yeah, it would be incredible. So this type of system would allow that. The old system, they can't build on top of that because they can't change the fundamentals of how the reports get built together. So little things like that, or like sort by amount. Sort by amount is one thing that drives me freaking insane, because I forget that I can't sort by amount, because it's illogical that you can't sort by amount. So like classic reports, detail doesn't let you sort by amount. The new ones obviously allow you to do anything. That's more powerful. So again, we're gonna go back to this and try to get you to fall in love with the new report builder. Also, as part of the slides, there's two links there which I'm calling hidden classic reports. These are two reports that are not available in the typical report search. They're reports that happen when you do things like you're in the chart of accounts and you click run report on an account. Okay, have you seen that? Okay, so that you can create a report from scratch by starting from this URL. Okay, so that's the point of giving you the URL, so you can copy and paste it in there, and then you can add it to your bookmarks, and then you can recall it later. Okay, so let's talk about customizing reports in Classic View. So we're going to go into the demo. I just want to walk through a couple of things. These slides are really powerful for like a brand new customer or a brand new employee, because I basically put a cheat sheet and point at whatever, even the obvious stuff, like, we put a little arrow and explain what every single button does. Okay, so these are meant for you to print and give it to a new employee, or for yourself if you're just getting into QuickBooks Online. Anybody here is like a hardcore desktop user that's like about to move to the cloud in the next year or so? Anybody here like that? Okay, so like for you guys, you're going to experience a whole new thing, that's the reporting tool, and it does not behave like QuickBooks Desktop. So obviously, it'll feel like some friction at the beginning, but once you press every button, and good news, in reports, it's view only. You can't break anything. So like, I don't know why some accountants freak out about like, I don't want to press that. It's a report. You can press anything you want, right? It's okay. It's not the register, right? This is a report. So yeah, so press every button and kind of watch the behavior, but that's what I did. Just give you a quick synopsis of what everything is. So I won't go through it. This is just for you to print and have it as a cheat sheet later on what every one of these things are. We're going to do this whole thing in product. So let's go into, let's maximize the screen. We should probably zoom in a little bit more. The problem with zooming in is there's so much empty space in QBO, usually so much white space. I have to find the perfect zoom that people in the back can see well, but then I don't get constrained to the stuff that I'm going to show. So I'm going to go into reports, and we're going to start with the fundamentals. So we're going to we collapse the left navigation bar. The first fundamental is we do have a report search here. So if I want something like balance sheet by class, I type class, and it will show me all the reports that have the word class in it. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Up here, if I search class, I also get a list of reports by class, and sometimes I'll test it, it shows the same. But for some reason, 1% of the time, not all the reports show up on the top search. They always show up in the bottom search. So if you're looking for a report that you know it's there, but you're using the top search and you're like, whoa, what do you mean? I could have sworn, I'm not going crazy. I could have sworn I've seen this report before. Just go back into the report center and search it in here. It's probably going to be there. Has that happened to anyone where they're trying to find a report and it doesn't? Yeah. So why does design and engineering work like this in QuickBooks? I don't know, but It's one of those things that is like, man, it's just a small little thing that we wish they could fix. But at least there's a pathway to finding them. So down here, the favorites, these are the ones that you put a little star on it. If I unstar them, they go away. Okay? And then you can click on the ones you want favorite again, and then they show up on the screen again. If I click on the 3 little dots, I can go straight to customize, which is the same thing as running them, by the way. So clicking here or customize is the same. Or I can, this is new, you can add them to management reports. It's one of the frustrating things that management reports had, that they only had a few canned reports. Now you can take any of these reports and put them in management reports, okay, straight from here. So if you go look at a P&L by class or something like that, or let's start with a regular P&L. So let's go to regular P&L. And first thing you want to learn is up here in the top, you can collapse the header a little bit, okay? Now, this still blows my mind that scroll all the way up, I'm still like at 40% of the screen. You know, like why doesn't this thing go all the way up again? I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. Okay, I don't get paid the big bucks for that, right? I just complain about it. But the couple of tips here. The most important thing is date ranges and dynamic date ranges versus custom date ranges. So when you use a dynamic date range, like for example last year, and then you save the report, every single time you run that report in the future, it will always go to the dynamic date range and do it dynamically based on when you run the report. But if you, for whatever reason, you did last month, okay, and then maybe you misclicked something and then you change the date, and this thing goes to custom. Okay, I don't know where that happened, but this thing goes to custom. So usually when you change it, it goes to custom. Let's do back to this, okay? And if you save the report and you run that report again, because it's custom, it's a fixed date. Okay? So you can see changes over time of the same period. But so if you want this sort of rolling date range, you have to use the named date ranges. Okay? Other important thing about dates is, and this a lot of people, especially desktop people, know this, but if I were to do, let's say a pop quiz, I want to put there February 14th of this year. What would be the fastest way for me to do that? Huh? Let's go for the slowest. Okay. That's the slowest way, okay? All right. So there's multiple versions of the fastest way. So one, you can type 03/14/23, right? Would you say that? Okay, and then hit tab. Or, even better, I can do 03, no slashes, 14/23, hit tab. Or even better, if it's same year, it's implied that if I do 03/14, that gets me straight to it. Okay, woo! And if they have an open bar, I can end the class now. That's good. So the other thing is the keyboard shortcut. So if I press T, it's today. If I press Y, it's the beginning of the year. If I press R, it's the end of the year, and it's the word year, right? If I press M for the beginning of the month. If I press H, it's the end of the month. If I press W, it's the beginning of the week. If I press K, it's the end of the week. And it works with multiple iterations. So if I want to go back, let's say 3 months, I do MMM. And it takes me back 3 months really quick, okay? Or if I want to go forward 3 years, I do RRR, okay? So it's pretty neat, okay? So, yes, what was the question? It's in my head. Yeah, there should be, but like, listen. T for today, the word month, the word year, and the word week. Just think of first letter, last letter. First letter, last letter. That's it. That's the cheat sheet. Yeah, it's pretty brilliant. Like I tell you, out of all the things that QuickBooks has ever invented, this is probably one of the most genius things it is, and it's so simple. And it's so simple, and the interesting thing about accountants is, like, we don't care about the flashy stuff. We care about like this little things. Like we care about saving a second 1,000 times. Yeah? So, yeah, what is it? Yeah, I was about to get there. So if you were to do yesterday, what would you press? Yeah, no Y. Y is for the beginning of the year. So you just do minus. So you do T minus. That would be yesterday. Tomorrow, it would be not T T plus. And it also works with multiple clicks, right? So you go plus and minus. There's also a really obscure one, which is brackets. It's obscure because it doesn't work. No, never mind. Brackets don't work. Yeah, so the brackets work in desktop. If you do brackets, it goes back, I think it's like same day of the week, last week. Like if you're on a Tuesday, it'll be like last Tuesday. It gets really wacky. I don't know if does anybody know the desktop ones? It's like bracket and like, okay. But there should be a cheat sheet. So on the online, it's just the words, not everything else, okay? All right, the other thing is important to know is we have display columns by. So obviously if you have Essentials or Simple Start or Ledger, and I still at this point don't know if this drop down will be in Ledger. I'm assuming it is. But by classes, that's always only going to work. Classes and locations is only going to work for Plus and Advanced, right? Because they're the only ones that have class and locations. So in this specific case, the most common thing to do is to do something like this year to last month, the most typical thing that accountants do, and then either by quarter or by months, and then do run, and then you get to see the same exact profit and loss already spread out, so you can do your trend analysis, okay? Now, there's a difference between choosing a date range and splitting the columns versus choosing not to split the columns and show a comparative. There's two different things, okay? So for example, if I wanted to do last month, okay, and then I could put this back to total only. So if I want to do last month, and I want to see last month next to it compared, then I go here where it says compared to another period, and then I click on previous period, and pop quiz. What's the right answer? Dollar change or percent change? All right, there's two types of people in this world. There's the P&L percent change people and the P&L dollar change people. And I'll give you a hint. One of them is a psychopath. Right? So let's see. All right. So if you do dollar change, raise your hand. If you do percent change, raise your hand. Okay, dollar change is a psychopath. Okay. So my philosophy is P&L comparisons are by percent and balance sheet comparisons are by dollar amount. Okay, that's how I view the world as a non-psychopath, right? And I can heal you. I can heal you. Just follow me. Okay. So when you do the comparative, and this is kind of interesting. When you do the comparative, the first column is the focus period, and then the second column would be the compare period. So that's kind of interesting. If I don't do compare, I can get a similar result by actually going and manually going, okay, and picking a 2-month date range, and then doing total by month, and then clicking on report. I get similar piece of information, but it's organized differently because now it's going to go sequential. So it's going to give me the oldest first and the newest after, and then it's going to do this weird thing, which is give me a total at the end. Okay, and I say weird because sometimes that total becomes confusing because it contextually doesn't really mean much when you look at 2 months. But sometimes it does mean something. I mean, it depends on really what you're trying to do. Okay. The other thing that you can do that's pretty interesting is when you do the comparison, you can do percent. This is something that very rarely gets used. Percent of row. Most accountants go, why? Actually, raise your hand if you looked at that and you go, why? Okay. Raise your hand if you looked at it. Okay. Come on, be more creative. Okay. Yes, if you look at it, you go, why? But good. So if you do percentage of row and click on run report, this is actually a pretty interesting concept. If you want to compare multiple periods of multiple dimensions within itself, okay, that could be useful. So for example, if I'm looking at, let's look at, for example, a couple of months worth and click on run report, and then essentially I'm looking at a total of 100%, but then when I look at my quarters, I'm saying this is 29% of the entire period that I'm comparing. So, okay, so that's really useful. Like use cases for that. I mean, this is custom reporting, so who knows what the use cases are? But you know, there's all tons of use cases. Like if you want to know which is the best month, okay, obviously you look at the absolute number. But sometimes it's just like if you really want to like quickly look at it without even having to think much, you look at the percentages and you go straight for the 40%. That way, because the problem is when we look at big numbers like 1 million or 100,000, our mind goes to like calculator mode. and then all of a sudden we get, when you put too many characters in a calculator and you get an error, okay? Actually, I have a joke for you. It's a really good one. My son Alejandro, who's like he's the funniest guy I know, and he's gonna be hilarious. He comes to me and goes, Dad, pop quiz. What is, and he just makes up a number, 1,265,307 times 8,945.3. And I'm like, Alejandro, I don't know. He's like, get a calculator, and I'm going to tell you what the answer is. And I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on here? All right, so I get a calculator. He goes, wait, before you do it, I'm going to tell you what the answer is. It's error. He's amazing. It was error. Too many numbers. Okay. So anyway, I think of like when you look at big numbers, our mind goes to calculator mode and it goes to error really quick. We're very keen to percentages. Like we understand percentages innately very well. That's why this type of analysis works. Now, I'm going to go back to total only, and then I'm going to go back to, let's say, this year to last month, and click on Run Report. And I'm going to take a percentage of row and do what we call the GOAT, okay? The greatest of all time, the percentage of income, right? And then click on Run Report. And then see that, of course, percentage of income, the income of the revenue is 100%, and everything else is a percentage from it. Okay, so you get to see that immediately. You could also do it by column. So if you're doing this by quarter, and this gets a little bit confusing, but if you do it by quarter and leave percentage of income and click Run Report, you can actually analyze this through the quarters. I personally think this is maybe too much information. And one of the problems that not we have, but our customers have, is when you give them information that has maybe like more than 4 lines of information, they're done, Yeah, they're done, right? This is why, by the way, my favorite way to do chart of accounts, I'm going to give you one for free. This is the only one I'm going to give you for free, okay? Otherwise, this is like gold, okay? My favorite way to do chart of accounts is to have 3 categories of parent accounts in the expenses. Is to have sales and marketing, is to have payroll or human resources, whatever you want to call it, and overhead or office supplies, okay? And that, not office supplies, sorry, overhead or other expenses, okay? Or this is another word for it. So admin and overhead, okay? So you have these 3 as your parent accounts, and then you find home to all your other expense account under those 3. Because if you do that, you can literally give your customers the first pass of the P&L with 5 lines, right? Income, cost of goods sold, and the 3 main expense categories. And that becomes really, really, really valuable when looking across multiple months, because then you're looking at things in terms of big categories, okay? So it's big categories. And then you can, of course, expand manually as you go. So that's actually one of my favorite ways to do chart of accounts. It doesn't always work with every client. Like obviously some clients, or maybe the tax accountant for that client, they actually do hate that a lot, right? They actually, almost every tax accountant bad-mouthes me when I do that. Because, see, the problem with tax accountants, we have any tax accountants here? Crap. All right, we'll skip that joke. No, but the problem with tax accountants is like their concern is that their P&L matches a tax return. And the problem is when the IRS made up a tax return, they didn't think of like the management tool that a report is. They just like randomly advertising is on the first page, but everything else is on the other. Like it's just so random. Like when you look at like a 1120S or 1120, like who chose the 8 categories that go on the first page? Like who picked those as the most important ones? Like, I totally argue that payroll is the most important one, and maybe rent. But like, repairs? Yeah, like, why is repairs in there and not like office supplies or professional fees, like other like significant things? So it's very strange. But anyway, a tax accountant will be more obsessed with like matching it. Why? Because they just want to do the tax return much faster later, right? But as a consultant, as an advisor, I'm much more obsessed that the customers are using this. Because one of the biggest shames, not shame, but one of the most disappointing things about the efforts that we do is we take so much time to make the most beautiful P&Ls and balance sheet for them to be dismissed, right? So it kind of sucks. You know, like an artist that when they're alive, nobody appreciated their job, but when they're dead, everybody, like when I'm dead, my P&Ls are going to be worth tons of money. So I'm signing them right now. I'm signing them. Right? People ask me, can you sign my P&L? Yeah, of course, I'll sign them because I want my family to be able to trade those things in the aftermarket. But it's like an artist creating this beautiful thing, but nobody appreciates it. And typically, it's until they switch to another accountant that's a hot mess that they go, wow, those P&Ls used to look nice, you know. But I think the problem really is us. The problem is that we don't try to think like them. We try to make them think like us. And it's actually easier for us to meet them where they are than get, like, how many of you, had a client that goes, my goal is to teach this guy accounting, okay, and I'm going to succeed, you know? It never really happens, right? The reason why they hire you is because they hate everything about what you do, okay? They love that you do it, but they hate everything that you do. But at the same time, somehow they're maybe way too busy to actually learn enough of it to make it useful. So that chart of accounts design, to me, is like the ultimate advisory work. I don't know if you've heard in multiple sessions here or previous years or other conferences, everybody says, gotta move to advisory, gotta move to advisory. Like, have any of you started freaking out about how AI is gonna do the stuff that we do? And you're like, okay, what the heck are we gonna do? And then people tell you, easy, move to advisory. And then you're like, okay, yeah, but what exactly does that mean? Well, what it means is maybe you have a service called the Quarterly Chart of Accounts Management Review, right? And then in that service, you literally do what you already do, which is clean up crap from chart of accounts and stuff, but you give it a name, you call it a thing, and then you sit down with the client and you go through the whole exercise of going through them, explain it again. It's fine, they're paying you for that, right? Explain the chart of accounts again, and then your customer is going to be much better served because it felt like they were actively involved in the process of helping them manage the reports proactively, okay? So something to think about, I think something that could be valuable. So anyway, I digressed. So that's with this. I'm going to show you one more thing, which is one of those sort of semi-confusing things. If I come in here and go, okay, and I go and I pick up a specific custom date range. Let's say, let me take out the columns here and go to run. Okay, and then I have a report that's January to July. For whatever reason, I did January to July. And then I want to do a comparison to that. This is a landmine you might trip on, okay? When you have a custom date range, and you come in here and do compare to another period, and you click on previous period comparison, and you don't pay attention to what's going on here, and then you just click out of it and click on run report, then you get this very strange, nonsensical date range next to it, okay? And what this essentially did, okay, which is actually not that dumb, I mean, it's not that useful, not that dumb, it's actually counted the days of your date range, and it actually went back to the previous day, and then sort of went backwards and gave you that. And you're shaking your head no because it makes no sense. Yeah, it's so stupid, correct. Yeah. But again, I mean, that it's as long as you know how it works, then you no longer have to cuss at it. You can go, oh, okay, let me just fix it. So in here, what you have to do at this point is you have to make sure that you pick, in this case, the same date range. Okay? And then that way, when you run the report, this stuff makes sense. But I'm going to make an argument for the stupidity, right, whatever of it, which is during PPP, sometimes I had these weird quarters that I had to compare that weren't just perfect comparable quarters. Like I got to compare my 2019 Q1 versus my 2019 Q4 versus my 2021 Q1 of, you remember that? PPP, I know we're all trying to forget. Yeah. Yeah, like we drink to forget PPP, don't we? Yeah, yes, yeah. It had just torquey, but the reason for that is because they have no accountants in legislature, they just have lawyers. So when you got lawyers trying to figure out accounting stuff, they're always gonna muck it up. But what's nice is you can come in here and you can say, you know what, I'm gonna specifically pick and do 01, 01, let's do 01, 0119 through 03, 31, 19 or something like that. So when then we had this really like sort of strange quarters you want to compare next. There's no data on this one, but you can do that. So that's something that QuickBooks Desktop doesn't have, by the way. So 1 point for QBO. Okay, you got 675 left to go, but okay. But, so that's the one thing that QBO can do, reports that QuickBooks Desktop can't. Okay. The other really interesting thing that I have here is, or not that I have, that QuickBooks has, is this severely underutilized but really powerful tool called Show. Woo! Who's excited about show inactive rows? Yeah. You must be the life of the party. Just kidding. But this is the only place in the world where these jokes are funny, by the way. I try these things. I try these things in non-accounting context, and people think I'm a psychopath. I'll join the dollar comparison P&L people. Okay, but what's interesting about this one is if I show all, and I'm going to tell you an actual use case for this. So if I show all, every single chart of accounts account in there is going to show whether or not it has information. Okay, so when do you think this will be useful? Okay, I'm going to give you one use case that's really powerful. So I have a client that has like 8 LLCs. They're all real estate, and we have the same exact chart of accounts for each one. And we proactively delete the stuff that doesn't work, and they have the same account number. I mean, like everything is like copy paste, right? The same thing. And I don't want to pay for an expensive app to like consolidate all these things. So basically, I always run the P&L with all the accounts, export them to Excel, and then when you start copying and pasting the other ones, they beautifully paste back in there because you have the exact same order of rows, whether they have information or not. So that's a good use case. The other use case is like how often, like raise your hand if you sit down with your client once a year to review a chart of accounts. Okay? Once a quarter? Once a month? Never? Wow. Okay. Most accountants, and this is the funny thing about most accountants, when they sit down and review a chart of accounts with a client, I mean, if they're sitting next to them, maybe they're in the chart of accounts screen and they're saying, is this a good one, it's not a good one. They print the chart of accounts and say, hey, let's go through them, and you look at them. The problem is a chart of accounts printed by itself is meaningless to a client. So a chart of accounts is much more useful when it's used in context with the numbers that they have. So printing a P&L with all the accounts is actually the best way to manage chart of accounts. So I literally print this out and tell my client, hey, if you want to merge them, highlight them in yellow, and then give me just like a little line linking them. If you want to get rid of them, strike through them, give them back to me in 5 minutes. I'll clean this whole thing up for you. Okay? Or I'll show them how to do it, and obviously they could do it on their own. But this is much more effective for chart of accounts planning than just printing the chart of accounts, because it's just much more contextual. Any questions on that? Okay. Now, you could also rename a report. So let's say this report. Like, what would you name this report that's showing all accounts? Like, what would you call this? Not just a profit and loss. It would be a profit and loss what? You can do all active accounts. Okay, something like that. Okay, so you can rename the reports, right? So when you print them, they make a little bit more sense. Or, best thing you can do is, if you're going to charge for the chart of accounts review, you can call it, this was my nickname in high school, so HEX, I'm going to call it HEX COA review, P&L, and most importantly, you add TM at the end. You trademark that bad boy, and then all of a sudden, nobody else does what you do. Did you know that, by the way? If you want to be the one that is the only one that does what you do, you give your service, a peculiar service, you give it a weird name, and you trademark it, and all of a sudden you're no longer ever a commodity. Because people can say, oh, so-and-so does P&Ls. Yeah, but they don't do HEX area review, HEX COA review P&L trademark. They can't do that because it's my trademark, right? So when you trademark a label to your service, you own that service. No one else can do that service. Okay, so just pick a name that makes sense, of course. But that's actually that's a kind of a life hack to be able to like give value to things without really changing the thing that you're doing. Okay. So anyway, the other thing is QuickBooks has this look. People like to have fun, right? Would you say they're fun people? Okay. This is how they have the most fun, okay? They create an account called uncategorized income that every time you delete it, 3 more appear. It's a practical joke they've been playing on us for like 12 years. It's pretty funny. Yeah, seriously, I don't know how to get rid of uncategorized income. It just keeps coming up. And they multiply, so I just leave it. I'm at 4. I can manage 4. But yeah, and then you have this unapplied cash payment income, and that's only for, so that account you can't touch. That account's actually a peg holder for any time that you run a cash basis report in which you receive the payment for an invoice that's no longer not been applied. And this is different than QuickBooks Desktop. QuickBooks Desktop would never do this. QuickBooks Desktop, if you receive a payment without an invoice, it would put it as a negative AR. Okay? So in Intuit, for whatever reason, they figured in QBO, we're going to improve this, okay? And we're going to improve it by not giving you negative AR. Instead, we're going to put it as cash basis income that's not applied to anything. Okay? I don't know why that happens, but that's how it is. So that's that account. And lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Yeah. Oh, uncategorized income. Yeah, practical joke, of course. All right. So the other things we can do in here is we can customize the filters. So we can go to customize, and then there's some formatting options like divide by 1,000. So if you got these big clients that everything is in the millions or billions or whatever, you can get rid of cents. Now, a lot of tax accountants like to get rid of cents because they never work in the context of cents in the U.S. I don't know if Canada's like that, but we never put cents in a tax form. You could also show negatives in red or negatives in parentheses and red if you want to. And then there's this really pesky one that says except 0 amount. So again, there are 2 types of accountants in this world. There's the ones that want to see blank spaces and the ones that want to have zeros. And one of you is a psychopath. So raise your hand if you like zeros. Raise your hand if you like blank spaces. You guys are the psychopaths. Okay? So the problem with blank spaces is in here not so much because there's no like gap. But anytime you have like things with gaps, it's like you sort of like lose track of like where things are. So I like the zeros, so I come in here and I remove except 0 amount and go to run, and it actually shows me a 0. Okay? See, now you know why you were a psychopath all along, right? Because this is really valuable, okay? All right, let's do this year. Let's do this year to last month, and click on run report again. Okay. So, and I think I removed did I remove the decimals? I think I did. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing that's in here too, which is actually sort of the opposite, is you can have it show everything except a non-zero. So if you go this way and you go to run report, then run report, then none of the accounts with 0 will show, with the possible exception of a parent account, because a parent account needs to show. But none of the accounts that have 0 will show. Or you're tricking me, buddy. Hold on a second. So what was it? Hold on. 1% at a time. Yeah. Of course. Yes. Okay. So run report. No, because, sorry. Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah. Here we go. Yes. You get a point. Who said that? Okay. Actually, no. That's at least 20 points. Who said that? Who's keeping track of points? You got 20 points. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I was drawing a blank for a second. Yeah. Huh? Also divided by 1,000, of course. Of course. I forgot what I did just 5 minutes ago. Okay. Click on run. And here's me calling you a psychopath. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. So the other things in Customize worth looking at is change the order of columns. So, but in this case, this one is just for the comparative columns, but the column order is a little different on detail reports, so we'll get there in a second. And then you have filters. So you can pick any filters: customers, vendors, employee, class, product, and service. The most common thing that you would do probably would be in the accounts you're showing. So a use case for this would be maybe only showing expense accounts on a P&L, and click on Run Report, because sometimes we don't need to analyze revenue. Sometimes we just need to analyze expenses, right? And cost of goods sold or expenses could be noisy for that specific analysis. So you can just cut it out, focus just on the expenses, and then when you do percentage of column in this case, not percentage of row, percentage of column, you click on Run Report. Then what you're essentially doing, let me just collapse this. Okay. Then essentially what you're doing is you are showing things in dimensions of expense only. So for example, when you go to a client and you tell them, hey, your payroll is 17%. Okay? For accountants, that means it's 17% of revenue, correct? Most business owners don't think in that context. They'll say, what do you mean 17%? I spend at least 60% of my money in payroll, right? Or at least 60% of my expenses are payroll. So like they might think in terms of like the bucket of all expenses. So like this is an example to where you would maybe do a different type of analysis. And in this case, you would just give this a special name, and you can call it expense percentage analysis report, and then you do TM, of course, so you can charge $2,000 for it, and then you have it like that. And then of course you come in here and you click on Save Customization, and you click on Save, okay, or you can add it to a report group. We can put it on the Suite Reports, and then click on Save, and then anytime that I want to go back and look at that report, I go back on the reports, and I click on expense or something, type expense or something like that, and then under Suite Reports is right here. Expense percentage analysis report TM, and it says customize to let you know it's a custom report, and you click on that and you go straight to it. So if you have a dynamic date range, every single time you pull it, that report will be different, and that could be part of like what you teach your clients to review monthly, or maybe what you sit down and review with them monthly. Okay? So any questions on the summary customization of reports? Any questions? Okay, I think most of you actually knew most of this already, so this is the baseline. So let's go into like the more advanced stuff, okay? So let's go and do a drill down and click on any of these things, okay? And then when you click on this thing, and this is my single biggest pet peeve, okay, is when I click on a drill down, it opens in the same tab. So it's my single biggest pet peeve, and because everything else in the world, you can, in terms of browsing world, you can right-click and click on Open New Tab. Somehow, QuickBooks figured out how to screw that one up, right? You can't right-click on it to open a new tab. So within the context of looking and drilling down reports in QuickBooks Online, you're stuck with having to click on it and lose that. And the problem, especially for desktop users, we're so used to having like the summary report here, drill down, close, go back to the other report. You don't lose, where you were on the page. That's one of the things that frustrate people quite a bit on QBO. Luckily, there's a free tool that can solve that. But So all right. So the same thing. When you click on the actual transaction, it takes you to the transaction on the same tab. Now, what's nice about the transaction drill down is when you click on X, that does send you back to the detail report. But there's actually no natural way for you to go back to the report. Sometimes when you click on back to report summary, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it did. Yes, love it. Okay, but it's one of the semi-challenges we have with that. With the new enhanced experience, which we're going to get to soon, they fixed some of these things by opening new tabs when you drill down. Okay, which is actually was the solution. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So that's great. So what he's saying is, Hector, there's a workaround. Like the workaround is you're looking at this report, you right-click up here and go to Duplicate tab, and you still have the original tab that has your report, but for some weird reason it says check up here. Makes it really fun, okay? And then up here you can do your drill down. Only issue I have with that is like, if I forget to do it at the very beginning, I'll be scrolling down, and I'll be like in that perfect line that I want, and if I duplicate, I'm just gonna go all the way back to the top. So it's kind of like, so maybe I duplicate a tab, leave that one there, and then work within this one. But you have to remember like all these mental gymnastics, to be able to do this quicker. So when you go into any of these reports, this is what's called a detail report. Okay, detail reports naturally will have, based on the type of report, its own internal grouping. Or whenever you see this group by, you can actually pick what you want to group by. So if I click on none and click on run report, that's just going to be like a flat view, okay? But if I want to group this by customer or by account, by transaction type, I can click on run report and then it will group them for me. I can also manually collapse these if I want to see it in a sort of high level. The only thing again, they fixed it with the new enhanced report experience, which we'll get to in a second, is I wish I could know like how many transactions are inside of it, like a transaction count. So this is fixed with the new enhanced report experience. Now, the thing that drives me crazy about this report is I'm going to go back here to none and click run report. It's that when you first run a detail report, there's a predetermined set of fields, and there's no way for you to choose like this is the custom ones that I want. So this is something you have to manually go in there and configure and create custom reports for, unfortunately. And to do that, we go to customize report, we go down to change columns, and then we go pick what we don't want. So we don't want ADJ because nobody knows what that is, okay? Yeah. I know what that is, but I'm weird like that. Who knows what ADJ is? Okay, that's only when it's a journal entry and it's an adjusting entry. But there's so little transactions are like that. And then you get to pick what you want here, and you can also reorder. So if I want transaction type at first, and I want maybe the name second, and I want the account third, and I want amount fourth, and I don't want split, I don't want balance. Let's say, let's bring transaction number maybe here. Click on run report. You get to customize how these go. Okay. Now these can be resized. Okay, so it's a little clunky because it's a very small margin of error for you to miss that line. And these don't, like when you double click like in Excel, they don't like resize it. They kind of just move for some reason 2 pixels to the left when you double click. Like, who wrote that code? You are assigned. When you double click, move 2 pixels to the left. I got it. So that's essentially what you do. But the one thing that drives me crazy sometimes is like when I'm going down, where's my amount? Okay, I'm going down the amount, and like usually when you analyze amounts, what's the first thing you're looking at? Right? Right, the biggest number, right? Right? Guess what? There's a button here that says sort. There's no amount sorting, okay? Drives me crazy. I've been after Intuit to fix it. They're like, we'll fix it with the new experience. So there's something to look forward to on the new experience, at least there, okay? So let's talk about any questions on this screen. Okay, so the new experience is this thing called Modern View, okay? And the thing I heard, over here. So not a good argument, yeah. So the Modern View, also called the Enhanced Experience. Why does it have 2 names? I don't know, but so the Modern View and the Enhanced Experience essentially is their way to try to solve a lot of these issues, okay? So the first issue about this, listen, get used to this, okay? This is what reports are going to be. All reports are going to be like this. I don't have the power to change that, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't tell me no, right? But this is what's going to... Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you not like this so much? I'm going to take 3 answers, and I'm only going to take the 3 best ones. You go. It doesn't show enough information in the initial screen. Like, not enough columns. Okay. Okay, hold on. But, like, this doesn't work? So it's a real estate problem, right? It's a real estate and screen problem. But that could be fixed by just collapsing the whole top part and giving you more space, right? So something wrong with the design around it, not so much. Again, I give them a lot of feedback, okay, from which 1 out of 100 they consider, okay? So yeah, I totally agree with you. But there's no line limitation. I mean, there's 31 columns, there's 95 rows. I mean, the data's there. And the nice thing about this, which I like much more than the regular reports, is there's actually a flat CSV export, okay? Because the Excel export on classic reports is just dumb. Like you're merging fields and stuff like that. Like, you kidding me? Like, who does that? But this just gives you flat view. Let me zoom this in. And this is very powerful for people like me that do, this first of all, which I love, okay? But people that do pivot tables and stuff like that, like I really like having initial flat view. So it's better. The built-in export to CSV is better. The export to Excel I haven't used. I'll just click on it because I don't do export, a lot of Excel export. It's also flat. Look at that. It's also flat from the beginning. There's no mysterious hidden, merged cells down here. So you could go straight to pivot table. So like that, in my opinion, it's a big enhancement. Again, I'm not trying to convince you otherwise, but I'm trying to address it and address the fact, because we have to get used to it. So I'm trying to figure out, like how do I communicate to Intuit and to people that I'm just trying to avoid frustrations. I have no power over what's going to happen with the report change. But what's another thing? Okay, well, there's not enough columns to show in this example. But if I go to columns and I add more stuff, so right now I have like amount line or balance or account type or adjusting journal, the famous ADJ, okay? If I start opening stuff, then you have the adjusting scroll bar, it's right there. And if you get a Mac, okay? Like if you're not a psychopath and you get a Mac, you can use, I'm gonna refresh for a second. Let me add more here. Yeah, I was gonna show you that. Okay, so, okay, so if I do this with 2 fingers, look at that. Ooh, sexy. Look at that. Okay, yeah. It should work with any trackpad. I don't know. I mean, like I've switched to Mac so long ago that I don't know what being a psychopath is anymore. I'm free of it. Yeah. No, I'm sure there's PCs with trackpads that could do that. Like they can do sideways scroll. Yeah, I haven't tried it. I haven't tried it yet, but so you don't have to move the mouse down there and scroll. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Now most mice have the scroll thing, but they don't have side scroll. Okay, that would be nice to invent one. Was there one more? So only the top 3. So we got 2, and yours is the top 3. All dates? There isn't. We're all still looking for it. Yeah. So she's saying that in this drop-down menu there's no all dates. No, we're still looking for it. It's in QuickBooks Connect somewhere. It's a scavenger hunt. Yeah. So yeah, for all dates you have to come in here and just press Y a bunch of times. All right. And then come here and press R. Right. That's the closest thing. No, yeah, I know. It's in my wish list. Yeah. My wish list for this thing is like this. It's actually, believe it or not, I worked with a PM since May of 2020 on this, until maybe May of this. No, say like August of this year, where he left, and I've been depressed ever since. So as I'm still waiting to see what the next PM is, so I can okay, all right, listen, all dates. Believe it or not, there's so many things we've added on this thing, like this transaction count that was added. You used to have to wait an hour for these reports to update. Now it's real time. So there's been tons of improvements to this. But yeah, so those are the top 3. No all dates. What was the other one? No, the side scroll, and what was the other one? And what was it? The real estate, right? So you know what our job is now, right? We're gonna give feedback, okay? And you all give the same cohesive feedback, okay? Like, don't say I hate this, okay? It's not gonna work. Okay, and some people and sometimes these things get read one by one. Sometimes it gets read by AI and it gets summarized for some. This is before ChatGPT. Like Intuit's been using AI for years, especially with feedback, because there's millions of feedback. So what they do is they look for patterns. Okay, so if all you guys type side scroll or horizontal scroll, which like no normal human being types that stuff in here, right? But you do, hey, the side scroll, horizontal scroll frustrates me. If you all write this, AI is going to give them a top summary of what the top thing is, and then they prioritize that on the fixed list. Okay? So make sure that all these things that we discussed, you give that. So all dates, side scrolling, and then too much empty space, not enough to. And a solution is just get a 37-inch monitor. Hey, that was a free one. Listen, I'm feeling generous with my advice today. Okay? All right. So the other things that are really, really cool about this is the grouping. You can click on the drop down here. One thing that this does that the classic reports don't do, in classic reports, there's always like a box of surprises of what you can group for. Like you click on group by and you're like, oh, I hope it groups by this. And you're like, oh, crap, it doesn't group by that. This will group by every single field that's available. Okay, so any field that's in here by description, like that would be like the randomest thing to group by, but it could do that. Okay, in this case, none of these things have description. Maybe not a good example, but let's say account type. Okay, it could do that, right? It's all expenses. Or let's say we have, let's see one that would make more sense. That it's not already there. Let's see, by invoice date. That's really interesting. Invoice date by quarter. You can do that. Well, there's no invoices in this one in particular. No, but this was the drill down from the expense report. Remember that? Okay, actually, I'm gonna get out of this one and let me do that with an invoice list because it's easier. So I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna look for invoice list right here, and you see where it says new enhanced reporting experience? Okay, notice this has like a magic wand, and notice that my slides have enhanced in quotes. It's called, yeah, I snuck this one into it. I didn't notice that. All right, so like to them it's magical, to me it's enhanced. Okay. So when you click on this one, it defaults on the new one, and then you have the classic view. So let's go here to, let's say, this year, and we see all the default fields that are on an invoice list. Again, I can click on columns and I can add more stuff. Okay, so I can add who's the user that created it, the last modified date. I can add, I don't know, billing address. I can add term, and then I can also hide transaction type, or full customer name or location or whatever. So you get a lot of control on the columns that you can bring in, and you can also change them. So if I want invoice number to be the first one, I click and drag up here, and if I want customer full name to be the next one, I click and drag up here. Okay. No, that didn't work. Oh yes, I had it. Good, you get a point. Okay. Well, exactly. Okay, so then I come in here and I have it set up like this, and then I can go into grouping, and I can say, hey, let me group this by customer full name, and it groups it. The regular report has this, and then I am on plus right now. If you were on advanced, you can actually click on that add up to 3 layers. So you can do one grouping, one subgrouping, and a third subgrouping. So advanced is a little bit more powerful in this screen, where you can do multiple subgrouping. In this one, you can only do one, but there is a nice one, which is a hierarchy. So if you do, for example, by account name, and you click on hierarchy, if there are, of course, these are all going to be accounts receivable. Let's do a different one. Let's do maybe a regular profit and loss. Okay, and then we'll drill down. Maybe total expenses. This is going to give me the new one. No, it's not. Let me go back for a second. Let me drill down maybe on, let me do all dates here. Oh, here's the all dates. Yeah, I know. So let's say I click on one of these things, okay, and then this one's not gonna work. Okay, let me see if I do maybe P&L. Sometimes it's hard to remember which ones automatically show up or not. Give me a second. If not, I'll search it to the reports, but. So some reports automatically show up the enhanced experience and some don't. Okay, all right, fine. So we'll click modern view. And then in here where it says filter, right now I'm filtering by, let me zoom out for a second. I'm filtering by account name advertising. Okay, I can actually remove the filter altogether. Okay, remove the filter altogether, or just get rid of it, and then no longer filter by advertising, and then I have all of them. But then what's really cool is these are all grouped by your account category, and if there are sub-accounts, it pre-groups it for you. Okay, and this is available in all editions, by the way, of the enhanced reporting experience. So yes, we took away all, well, I say we, I don't want to take credit for that. They took away all dates, but they added, in report experience, hierarchical grouping, which you don't get with the regular reports. So this is actually pretty neat. And like I said, if you have advanced, you could choose your own grouping up to 3 layers deep. Now, what they also changed in filters, which is actually fantastic. I'm going to go in group and dissolve these groups. Okay, so what they changed in filters is that there's a lot of things in the filters that are just flat. Is it this or is it not this? But in the new enhanced reporting experience, if I go into filter and I look at, for example, I want to filter by one of these amounts. So let's do this one that says amount line. Okay, amount line. When I go to operation, I get greater than or equals to. I get equals. I get not equals, which is actually awesome. Okay, because you think, what? Not equals? What does that mean? Well, I have one particular client that like 90% of their income is $10,000 invoice. Okay, and like 2% is random things that they add. They mostly are reimbursements. Okay, he's got this flat service for $10,000. And any additional expenses are reimbursements, but he can never pick the right item on the invoices. He can never pick the right account. The only thing that's right is the amount. So the only way to get this guy a report of just the reimbursements is for me to say not equals 10,000, right? And that's the report. The not equals 10,000 report is the one that essentially shows all the transactions that are not 10,000. So it's an example of they really thought outside the box on this. Also, is empty is interesting. So is empty means that there's no value in that particular filter. So for example, if I go down here, let me take let's do location, and I go to operation and I do is empty. So these are all the transactions missing a location. See that? And then if I go to, let's say, class, and I go is not empty. These are all the transactions that have a class in it. So that type of stuff you can't do with the regular reports. But you can kind of do it, but it doesn't work as well as in here. But what's also cool is you can do double up. You can gang up on the same exact filter. So I can say it's not empty, and also I go back to class again, and also not equals maybe this one and this one. Okay. So something that you don't get with regular reports. So you have tons of power in combining different operations or operative filters in the enhanced report experience that you don't get with the regular reports. And I truly appreciate that. And I appreciate that because I didn't even suggest that. Okay, whoever, because I tend to always like my suggestions and not other people's suggestions. It's a weird thing that I do, but. Whoever built this, I assume they got some guy that came from the ERP reporting world, where people ask for every type of way of doing things, and they pre-built all these sort of beautiful, complex type of combinations. And when it's with amounts, or when it's with amounts in particular, you get a lot more stuff as well. So that's pretty cool. I think it's worth mentioning. Then on the general options, you get stuff like cash or accrual. You're used to this. And then you get negative numbers. You don't have negative reds on this report yet for some reason. Yes? Yeah, so her question is, can you do this with a balance sheet as well? So I have a slide here. Good segue, I think. I have a sideway that talks about the improvements and limitations from it. So one of the limitations is, or the work in progress is there's no financial statements. So you can't start with a balance sheet and run reports like that. Now, could you drill down into a balance sheet account and do that? Yes, you can, but not like from a balance sheet perspective. So no, so this new reporting experience doesn't do financial statements. QBO Advanced has a beta version of the P&L, but eventually once they have all the functional financial statements, and again, that's the only way you stop clicking, go back to classic view is to have, full set of financial statements. But there's a couple other things I haven't mentioned. So we have operations filters. We talked about that. Filter fields are hidden. This is actually pretty cool. Let me show you this. Let's go back into the report. Okay. And let's say, for example, let's look at transaction number. Okay. And for whatever reason, I decided that I don't want to see transaction number. Okay. So I decided I don't want to see transaction number, but I want to filter within the hidden field. So I'm going to turn it on first. Then I'm going to go into filter. Then I'm going to go to transaction number. I agree with you. The drop down should be alphabetical and it should be searchable. Yeah, that's on my wish list. Yeah. It'll probably come at some point. I mean, they're overwhelmed with feedback. Okay, they call that a good thing. So let's say, for example, I'm going to do by transaction number, and I can say, hey, it contains a 9 or something. Okay. Now, for some reason, the transaction number, they don't recognize that as a numerical value, and there's a specific reason for that. So they don't have like an in-between. Like you would say, hey, between 100 and 200. The reason why they don't have that is because some people, okay, right, put letters in transaction numbers. And those people are psychopaths too. Right? Yeah. So because of those people, we're screwed. So unfortunately, we don't have that for it. But they say only ones that have 9s, okay? But I don't want to see transaction numbers. So it's really cool. I can have it on the filter. They go into columns and then hide it. Okay. So it's using the filter, but it's not showing it, which is pretty awesome. Okay. So back to these slides here. So larger real estate on the screen, again, not large enough. You're right. But it's still a little bit larger, but not large enough. Rolling 12 months, it's actually pretty cool. So I guess they traded all dates for rolling 12 months. So rolling 12 months is this one. You go last 12 months. So I love that, okay? Because a lot of times we think of fiscal years only, and sometimes the rolling 12 months tells a much better story, okay? Because it kind of sucks that you're comparing, January through August of 23 with all of 22. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? And also, it would. So what are you going to do? You're going to compare it against the same amount of months before. I mean, just the best thing to do always is to look at today or the last month you checked as a function of always a fiscal year, like rolling 12 months. So I like that a lot. So one of my favorite new additions they added to this. Okay. We talked about the CSV export, sort by amount, of course. Sort by amount, group by any field, expand and collapse. Okay, so expand and collapse, I didn't show you this one. It's a small thing, and most people don't know it's there just because it's actually not intuitive, not very intuitive, how they did it. But we have all these sort of parent accounts or parent grouping that we want to expand and collapse. There's actually sort of a hidden function inside the 3 dots that you go expand all, and it expands them all, and you click on this one and go collapse all. See? That's pretty cool. Now, why in the world would you hide that in there? I don't know. Like, it feels like it should be up here somewhere, like collapse all, but I don't know. I don't know. They hid it in there, and they don't want you to use it. And there's compact view, which makes things slightly smaller, and then normal view, which makes it slightly bigger and a little bit more spaced out. Okay. Now, the other thing that I don't like about the new, and I don't know, and I'm afraid, and I'm very depressed about this, that this might never be a solution, which is custom URLs are not, like custom URLs don't work with enhanced reporting. So you guys know what that is? I'll show you. So let's say, for example, I'm building a regular report. Let's go back to the home page here. Okay. So let's say I go to a P&L. Okay. And I'm going to build like the ultimate P&L, right? What does the ultimate P&L look like? So it would be this fiscal year to last month. It would be probably period, probably dollar change, or it would be maybe percentage of income, right? It would be probably collapsed. It would be non-zero and display by month and sort by descending and maybe in cash basis depending on the context, and click on run report and then go to add notes and put unaudited PS don't approve this guy's loan. Wink. Okay. Okay. So I got the ultimate P&L here, right? And that I did it pretty quickly. Like that was probably 30 seconds. It's super annoying to have to go into every QBO file and have to do this entire thing and create the the customization. Obviously, we'll do here ultimate P&L by HG design, okay? TM, okay? gotta add the TM, okay? I must have been a lawyer in like some other, in a different life. So once you do this, the challenge with this is like if you go to another QBO file, you have to rebuild the whole thing. But what's interesting about this is if you run the report exactly as you're seeing it, this URL, you can literally just copy and paste this into an email and give it to any client. They go, hey, here's your ultimate P&L. And they click on it, and it builds the entire thing exactly how you did it. You guys know that? Huh? Yeah. Now, there's a caveat to this, okay? And this is one of those other, like I said, Intuit people have tons of fun, okay? The caveat to this is, and many people don't know this, is, let me just go to docs. The caveat to this is inside of the custom report URL, okay, which looks like this, okay? These are basically, this is not like Greek, okay? This is actually pretty simple. Every ampersand is a separation of a parameter, and between an ampersand is parameters. One of the parameters inside of this is the actual name of the company file. You see here it says company name? Here is the name of the company file. So if you actually give the link to a client like this, they're going to see their data with that company name on it. You're going to freak them the hell out, okay? So you actually have to go in there, you have to delete that parameter, and then you can copy and paste and send it. Okay? Has that happened to anyone where you look at a P&L with one person's numbers and another company name? That's because that happens two ways. One, because you used a custom URL, or two, because your browser's cache saved the parameters automatically and just kept adding it for you. So you have to clear your cache and cookies, well, not the cookies, just clear the cache, and it will do that. Okay. So I show you a very cool thing that unfortunately is not going to be available in the new enhanced report experience. So I don't know. I don't know. I told them about it, and then they're like, when they built it, they didn't think about that, and it would require so much like doing and undoing that it's more like, hey, you got to teach people how to build a report again and customize it in the QBO file. But I will be depressed if they get rid of those custom URLs, because those custom URLs are the basis of that spreadsheet, right? That spreadsheet I gave you with all the reports is because they all have custom URLs, okay? Or they have explicit URLs to get you there. Okay, any other questions on enhanced reporting experience? Okay, I'm going to skip management reports because it's kind of lame, and we're going to go to advanced report. I'm making the conscious decision to focus on the custom report builder and not on management reports, okay? Again, if you email me and go, Hector, how dare you, okay? Then I'll make the time and I'll make a whole video on management reports, okay? I don't know if I have one, I don't know if it's old, but But the video I pre-recorded has maybe like a 10-minute segment on it. But the one I really want to talk about is I'm going to go to this one. So I'm going to kind of skip to Custom Report Builder, and if we have time, got 18 minutes, let's see how in-depth we can go. We'll go and fill the gaps with the other stuff. Okay? So let's go to Custom Report Builder, which is only available in advance. So I'm going to switch company files to my QBO advanced file, which I pay for. So, come on, QuickBooks, give me a free advanced account so I can do demos. Okay. So this is my junk data file. It's got a bunch of junk, and then I just use it for all sorts of demos and testing, our app and that sort of thing. So if I go to reports, there's a new segment here called Custom Report Builder. Just by a show of hands, who's used this tool? Okay? And who loves it? All of you should love it. Okay? It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay? There's no back to classic view because this is the fundamental report builder. The difference between the advanced report builder and the enhanced reporting experience is the enhanced reporting experience lets you work from the reports that they've already ported over, where with a custom report builder, you can build reports from scratch. Okay? So there's a couple ways to do it. You can go to create new report completely from scratch, or we'll start easy. We'll go to invoice report, and this is sort of similar to the invoice list. Let me collapse that. Let me go here and do maybe last 12 months. Okay? So this is all my invoices. And what's really neat about this is I can start customizing this report really in depth. So let's go into groups, and let's say I want to start grouping this by class. Oh, I have to enable it first. So I go into columns, and the columns look different now. The columns look different because you get to see every single field organized by transaction type in this case. So I can come in here inside of on my invoice line, on my invoice grouping, and go back and look for something specifically I'm looking for. So let's say I want to find maybe, let's see, let's do billing state. Okay? And I don't know if I have states in my invoices. Maybe not a good idea because I didn't actually type the states in there, so it would be the problem. Let's see if a shipping address is that in there. Okay? There's a shipping address there. For whatever reason, again, don't pay too much attention to that, but that's just one of the fields. And then let's say I come back here to line items, and this actually searches within every single line item of every one of your invoices. So, for example, if I have, how classes can either be on the header for the whole transaction, or they can be for each line item. So if you have classes configured to be by line item, then you have to find them inside of the attributes for line item. So we go in here and we find, let's type here class. See if we can find it. Go class and we do class. Okay. So there's my class, perfect. And then I'm gonna filter, and then only give me things that have class in it. So let's go to class, and then put it's not empty. So now this is limiting just transactions that have classes. So then I go into group, okay? Go into group, and then I'm going to group this by class, okay? And then let's say I want to add one more group. This was telling you earlier, you get up to 3. I'm going to go by class, and then maybe by shipping address. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just an example, okay? So you have these ways to do a custom grouping, so you get up to 3, okay? And then you also get to choose which is the column that gets added. So you can add your amounts, you can add the quantities of items, you can add the open balance. So you get to pick which is your subtotal that gets added. And then once you pick which is your subtotal, this is the one that shows here where it says open balance. Let me just make this easier to read. Let's go to columns, reorder. Let's find open balance, and let's bring this bad boy all the way to the top. Okay, there we go. So as I collapse them, I get a total dollar amount. I also get a line count. So there's 2 on this one. Okay, so I open this up, and there's 2 lines with 2 groupings. Then I get inside of it the line count too, and then I get also the total. So it's like way more powerful than what you could do with QBO reports. And there I say, way more powerful than anything you could do in QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise today. Okay? So it's a really, really powerful tool. And you can sort by, good question. I haven't sorted by open balance. Let's see. Let's see. So where is my sorting? Open balance? Yes, you can. Right here. Yeah. Right, yes, yeah. So I'll explain what's broken about this. There's a broken logic. The sorting is actually not happening at the subtotal level. It's happening at the individual transaction level. Okay? So it's happening here in descending order, I assume. So it's happening in the individual transaction, in the individual line item level in this case. So there's a broken logic there, and then it's on the wish list too to be able to either sort by the individual transaction or sort by the general grouping. Yes. That one took me a while to explain. I might need to explain it again. These things are hard to explain, because of, again, which one should be? Should it be the individual or should it be the subtotal? Should it be the subtotal when it's collapsed, and then when you expand it, should it then reverse back to the other one? Or should you just have control of which one you want? Yeah, I know. So like in this 2.5-year journey that I've been working with them, I've noticed this is not like simple stuff. Like making these decisions is not that simple. Okay. Now the other cool thing you can do here is you can go straight to chart view. So if I go to chart view, you build instant charts from the stuff that you have on the screen. Okay. Sort of like the way you would do a chart in Excel. Like you just grab a data point and click chart, and it happens automatically. And then you get to pick what the x-axis is. So let's say this is going to be by quarter. And then what the y-axis is, in this case, zoom out for a second, it could be open balance or something like that. Okay? Why can't I do open balance here? Oh, total, there you go. So I get to pick the y and the x-axis super quickly, and I can split by, in this case, by class, and I can group them by class like this. Okay? So this is the most, in the $200 category range of software, no other software can do what this reporting system can do. And once they start adding AI to this, it's going to be even more powerful. Now, one more thing I want to show you. In table view, which is basically just a table, this is actually a pivot table. There's another option here that's called pivot. When you click on pivot, zoom in, you can see. When you click on pivot, you get to pick rows and columns, similar how you do it with the chart. So let's say I want to have, let's say class, and then I want to have here, let's say invoice date, and under invoice date I can pick maybe by month, and then the values I can pick either open balance or amount, because these are the numerical open values that I have, and then it does a quick, what we used to call in QuickBooks Desktop, a custom summary report. Okay, so you get this really quickly. That's super powerful too. So you got your classes here. You got your months here, and then you actually picked what data is the one being total in each of these fields. Okay, so it's similar to the chart view in terms of the constraints that you have, but it's under pivot. Okay. Any questions on this? Who's exhausted? Okay. Take a vote. Management reports or performance center? Yeah, I understood that. So management reports, raise your hand. Performance center? Oh, okay, cool. Wow, nice. I should just mess with you and do management reports. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's go to reports. Let's go to performance center. So I don't know if you actually had a chance to go to the Intuit booth. There's one called Mid-Market. And what they're building that's probably going to come out mid next year, which is called KPIs, is super cool. Only in advance. It's super cool. So this is the baby version of what that's going to be, right? Where you can build custom KPI dashboards and stuff like that. It's going to be really neat. And it's probably going to put a lot of these reporting software companies out of business. Okay. What are your favorite reporting software apps? Just throw it out there. Like, what are your favorite ones that you use? QVinci for consolidating multiple company files. What else? Fathom for like really pretty and easy to like just, actually, what Fathom did is they actually copyrighted their reporting scheme, and they built something that's truly unique, and that's why Fathom is popular, because the way they display stuff, it has a patent. So Fathom's one. Is there another one? Which one? Sift. Sift because it's like one of the most powerful customizable ones. Does Sift to item level, like product level, or not yet? It actually does? Okay, last time I used it, it didn't, but okay, yeah, I'm very impressed with Sift. So if you've got time, check out these apps. I don't know if Fathom is here, or if Sift is here, and QVinci is here. They're all here. So yeah, definitely check them out. But if you go to the Intuit mid-market, tell them Hector sent you and say, can you show me the KPIs you're working on? It'll blow your mind. It's very cool. But it's one of those things that you can only like dream about until it actually comes out. So let's do Performance Center. So we got a couple. One of the options that we have is the Quick Add. So this is only in QBO Advanced. Okay. So the Quick Add are these templates that are already pre-choose for you, and then you have Add New Chart. So this custom charts takes you to the custom report builder. The Add New Chart takes you to a sort of build it from scratch type of thing. So you can start with like what's the baseline? Is it based on sales? Is it based on expenses? Is it based on gross profit, which is going to have sales and cost of goods sold mix? Is it an accounts payable? So you get to choose kind of like where this starts. And one of the most common ones is sales or expenses. So we go to revenue, and then we go to continue. And then we get to choose what are the dimensions of data we want to use. So first we're going to call this Rev Tracker by HG Design TM. Exactly. And then we'll do this year to date. And then the group by, you get to pick how you want to group the data. So let's say I want to group this by customers. Okay? And then I pick within a specific group of customers. So I say I want this guy. Probably not a good idea, but let me see. I want this guy, and I want that guy, and I want that guy, and I want, I don't know, that guy. Okay? So you get to pick a couple of customers here. I believe it's up to 5, if I remember correctly, or it's up to 10. It's hard to remember all these details. But there's 5. So let's see if you can do, if I can add one more, then the answer is 10. Okay? So they start up to 10. So you can add up to 10 customers, and you can plot each one separately and sort of like tracker. If you want to get, we can close that. We don't have to group by. You don't have to group by. But then you can filter, and you can say, you know what? Only give me information on locations. This company file doesn't have locations. Maybe let's do classes. Okay, and then I only want to see. Oh my God, who did this? Mark, I'm gonna kill you, bro. All right. So yeah, I think somebody imported the chart of accounts as a class. Isn't that cool? You can laugh at that. I think there's one. I have a class called e-commerce. Oh, here you go, parent class. So I have this class called commercial, and then I think I have residential. Or let me see. Parent class. I call this parent class and then we'll do, let's say, this class here. Okay. So I specifically said, look, give me the revenue tracker for only the ones that contain these classes, and also compare them with the previous period. And this thing will plot sort of dueling lines with the dashed line next to it. You can see it kind of here. It will plot the dueling lines of the previous period line next to it, so you can kind of see where it's going. Okay. You can also do vertical bars. So, for example, maybe I would do something like, let me remove the filters, and then group by, let's say, items. And then I go in and I pick like my top items. So let's say I pick this guy, and I pick that guy, and I pick this guy, and I pick this one, and I pick that one, and this one, and that one. Imagine the QBO file is not a hot mess. Okay? So then you get to see vertical graph, and you see a plot. And then in here, you can also filter and say, you know what? Only give me the ones that fit, this class or whatever, which is going to show nothing because I don't think anything's linked to that. But then so you can compare both the items and the classes, or you can cross them together. Okay. I will. I'm going to click on Add to Dashboard, and it adds it right here. Okay. So I'm going to do one more. Let me just do a quick add and do maybe gross profit over time, and add them both in here. And then if I click on Customize Layout, I can make one of them big, one of them small, for example. And then if I click on Done, and I add one more, let's say I add, let's do net cash flow, okay? Then I can click on Customize, make this one smaller, and then click and drag this one down and put it next to it. So you start really build, this is like the first iteration of the custom KPIs that are coming next year, but this has already been working for I would say probably at least a year. But they did improve you being able to change the dashboard around. So any questions on Performance Center? Did I not cover something? Was something kind of, yeah, go ahead. This one cannot be added to management reports. Yes, so unfortunately, no. No, you can, this is just a dashboard. You can add the custom report builder stuff to management reports, and we'll do an example of that. And you have a follow-up question? This report, when it exports, you go to export, it will do the entire page. And it's unfortunately, the PDF probably needs some help because it basically doesn't print like the dashboard. And again, I have nothing against it, but it doesn't print like a dashboard. What it does, it prints the chart and the legend, or numerical legend right under it, like this. See, of all the ones that you have pre-set up in there. Okay, but you cannot add it to management reports, unfortunately. Yeah, you can Frankenstein a report together. Someone was telling me earlier, and it was a really good feedback. They're like, Hector, can you tell Intuit to remove page numbers from reports? And I'm like what a weird thing to like be petty about. Like really, like why does that matter so much? So they explained it to me. I'm gonna click on Run Report. And I'm going to go to print. Okay? So there's page numbers here. Okay? Somebody's telling me, well, I Frankenstein these reports together, and then I have to like go in the PDF, delete it because it's not the same, because it's part of a package. So I said, that's a good point. And then I asked her, why don't you just add it to management reports? She's like, because I add reports from other apps and things like that, you can add in management reports. That made a good point. I actually added it to my wish list to put a little checkbox that goes, don't print don't print page numbers. So, yeah, there's many things that feel like they should be there. It's an example of that. All right, I got exactly 25 seconds. So, again, I have the recording of this. I'm going to put it in YouTube.